Hello once again. In my previous video, I showed you all the construction of this smoker box, in which I smoked some fish that I caught on a commercial fishing trip off the Washington coast, which I also showed footage of. There was quite a few comments about people's desire to see the fish actually coming out of the smoker, which I failed to show in my previous video. I did not mean to rob anyone of that satisfaction, but by the time I was pulling the fish out, it was well after dark. This is just a courtesy video to satiate people's desire to see some delicious smoked fish coming out of the smoker. Do stay tuned here. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be putting a video up about some heavier timber work I'm doing at my property. But if you want to see some delicious smoked fish come out of the box, continue watching. The fish I'm going to be smoking today is actually the large coho salmon I picked up from Amy in my previous video that is destined to be canned and shipped off to my sister, who's a few thousand miles away in the middle of the country. Now, there's no secret recipe I use for the brine of these fish. For this, I use 2 parts brown sugar to 1 part kosher salt and pack them into a sealed container and put them in the fridge overnight. Now, the salt in that brine is going to extract a lot of moisture from the fish. So although it started as a dry brine, it's going to turn into kind of a syrupy marinade. The next morning, when you're ready to prep the fish for the smoker, you take them out of that brine and rinse them in cool water. Now, they're not quite ready for the smoker just yet. I pat them dry with a paper towel and lay them out on my smoker rack. Now, they need to sit out for a couple hours to develop what's called a pellicle, which is a thin, sticky film that develops on the flesh. This helps hold in moisture and also gives the smoke something to cling to enhance the flavor. The best way to do this is to essentially have the fish out at room temperature for 2 to 3 hours, ideally with a fan blowing on them. I don't have on-grid electricity at home, so to run a fan, I would also have to run my gas generator, which I don't really want to do because I find it a little annoying and also wasteful. So I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. In my previous video, I explained a few different economical ways you can construct smokers. They are quite simple. You just need a box or containment system for the smoke with some racks in it and some kind of a heat source. Here I've used an old potbelly wood stove, flued into the bottom of my wood box. Now I've put this little damper in the flue piping. Lots of smoke can still get by that. It does a very good job of controlling the heat that actually goes up the pipe. Now that flue pipe just comes up through a large hole in the bottom of the box. And then I have this drip tray. Now that catches some of the drippings and also just prevents them from going down the flue pipe. Now I don't have a permanent home for this smoker just yet at my property, which is fine. Because when it's not in use, you can easily disassemble all the flue piping. That stores in here along with the racks and the drip tray, and I can stash this somewhere on my property. Now, the potbelly stove makes for great garden art when not in use. I know in my last video I used some alder, which grows in abundance out here on my property. However, for this batch that I'm smoking today, I'm going to mix with my alder some store-bought cherry wood chips. This may impart a slightly sweeter flavor on the fish. Because I'm going to be canning them, I only need to smoke at a low temperature, hopefully about 100 degrees, for an hour or 2. Now this will give the fish the smoky flavor I want. However, it won't cook it all the way through. That will happen in the pressure canning process. So once you got the box up to temp and the fish are smoking, it's relatively maintenance free aside from throwing a couple handfuls of wood chips on every once in a while, which gives us plenty of time to work on more important things. Well, the fish have been in for a couple hours now. Gave me plenty of time to work on a couple other things around my property. Let's open up the box and have a look. Oh. Whew. Okay. Oh, what the hell? How'd that get in there? This is my little tester piece. That is good. Yeah, I left the bones in. After they're canned, actually, the bones are edible. They're going to turn to mush pretty much, so a couple of little ones in this piece. And I think that's just right on the brine. They got just enough sugar and salt and just enough on the smoking to not overcook these prior to canning. Now what I have to do is remove these. I'm going to put them in some trays, put them in my fridge for a day, and then can them probably tomorrow evening. So I actually have some other stuff to do today. Matter of fact, I'm baking some banana bread right now. I do wish I could share a piece of this with all of you, but maybe you can smell that through the camera. It's delicious. You'll have to get yourself to your local grocery store and get some smoked wild-caught Alaskan salmon. Very good. Now that the fish are out of the smoker, they've been resting in my refrigerator for a couple of days until I found the time to pressure can them, which is what my project is this evening. They're not actually in there just yet. I still have to pack the fish in the mason jars. Now once the fish are in their jars and placed into this pressure canner, they're going to be under 10 pounds of pressure for no less than 100 minutes. This is not my $600 pressure canner. I can never bring myself to spend that kind of money on a pressure canner, but my friend Al could. So he was kind enough to let me borrow this for my canning project. So if you're looking to do some pressure canning for yourself at home, I highly recommend finding a friend like Al. I'm doing this outdoors on my camp stove because once the pressure cooker is rolling, it puts off quite a bit of steam from the pressure valve, and the weight that goes on that pressure valve rattles around quite a bit and creates a lot of noise. So now we're just going to get all this fish portioned out into half-pint mason jars with their sealed lids on and into the pressure canner. So once you've got your cans loaded in there and the canner is rip-roaring with steam coming out of the valve, it's time to put your calibrated weight on there. We're going to set this at the 10-pound setting for, like I said, 100 minutes. Now I just have to adjust the flame to get the pressure just right. I've got the pressure regulator there on the left, and then this calibrated weight on the right is going to start rattling around a whole bunch, letting a little bit of steam out. Considering you have 100 minutes to wait, it gives you plenty of time to work on other things. Now, because I'm recording this, I can't use the timer on my phone, so I'm just going to count to 6,000 real slow. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7. $5,998 Mississippi, 5,999 Mississippi, 6,000 Mississippi. Okay, so now that they've been in there canning at 10 pounds of pressure for 100 minutes, we can turn the flame off. I'm going to grab an oven mitt and pull the calibrated weight off the valve and let all the pressure out. Now that those jars are pressure sealed, We can leave them out at room temperature or outside temperature. They are considered shelf stable now as long as they all sealed properly. I hope they have. So I'm just gonna let this sit overnight to cool before I take the lid off, and we'll just pull them out in the morning. They're now considered shelf stable and good to eat for up to a year or even longer. And like I said, quite a few of these are getting shipped off to my sister back in the Midwest, but some of them I'm keeping for myself, and I'm gonna put up in storage so I can enjoy my smoked fish throughout the coming year. So let's get these jars out. Oh, now how the hell did these get in here? Sheesh. All right, so we've got our canned fish all sealed up, and you can tell it's sealed by the indentation in the lid. Now when these lids go on, they're bubbled out, and when they get sealed, the vacuum pressure in there pulls that lid down and makes it concaved. There we go. We have 3 layers in here with some mostly salmon, but also some rockfish and some lingcod that I smoked and added a few different flavors to. I did some jalapeno, I did some maple. So anyway, yeah, there it is, jarred salmon. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short video, and I do hope it brings the satisfaction that may have been lacking for some folks in my previous video, and perhaps answered some questions about both smoking and canning so that people might want to try it at home. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to those who have gone and supported my channel on other platforms. Do stay tuned here. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be putting out a video that's going to involve some more heavy woodwork. If you want a sneak peek of that, head over to my Patreon, where there will be an upcoming post with some clues as to what it is I'm working on. I do hope to see you all again in the near future. And of course, don't forget to tip your bartenders. Until next time.